Greetings, friends. Today I want to take you far away from cities, from noise, from certainty, to a frozen wilderness where silence is absolute and mistakes are fatal. A place where 9 intelligent, skilled young people walked into the mountains and never came back. What happened to them was so disturbing that even after more than 6 decades, the truth remains fractured. This is the story of the Dyatlov Pass incident. In January of 1959, the Soviet Union was locked in the Cold War. Information was controlled, secrets were buried, and failure was never openly discussed. Against this backdrop, 10 hikers prepared for a winter expedition in the northern Ural Mountains. They were not amateurs. They were students and graduates from the Ural Polytechnic Institute. Engineers, future scientists. Each of them had completed difficult expeditions before. Each knew how to survive in extreme cold. Their leader was Igor Dyatlov, 23 years old, disciplined, respected. So respected that the mountain pass where they would die now bears his name. Their plan was straightforward: a ski trek to Mount Otorten, then back. A journey rated as Category 3, the highest difficulty, but achievable for their skill level. They packed carefully: tents, food, warm clothing, cameras, diaries. They documented everything. Photographs show smiling faces, jokes, songs written in their notebooks. Nothing suggests fear. On January 23, 1959, they boarded a train. On January 27th, they began hiking. Snow was deep, temperatures were brutal, but morale was high. On January 28th, Yuri Yudin began to feel unwell. Joint pain, weakness. Reluctantly, he turned back. That decision saved his life. The remaining 9 continued north. Their last diary entry was dated February 1st. That night, they camped on the slope of Kolatsyakal. The name means dead mountain in the local Mansi language. The Mansi people avoided the area. They believed it was cursed. The hikers did not. When the group failed to return by February 12th, families grew worried, but delays were common. Only when days passed in silence did authorities act. Search teams were sent, friends, volunteers, later the military. On February 26th, a rescue team spotted something unnatural against the snow. It partially collapsed, standing alone on the slope. When they approached, confusion turned to dread. The tent was cut open, not torn by wind, not ripped by animals, cut from the inside. Inside the tent were boots, coats, food, cameras, everything they needed to survive. Outside, footprints led away, bare feet, socks, some shoes. They moved downhill, not running, as if they left calmly, as if they believed they would return. The footprints led to a forest about 1 mile away. Under a large cedar tree, 2 bodies were found: Georgy Doroshenko, Yuri Bonishenko. They were barefoot, nearly naked. Their skin was gray. Their hands were raw and damaged. Broken branches above them suggested they had climbed the tree, trying to escape something or see something. Between them, traces of fire, weak, desperate. They froze to death. Between the tree and the tent, 3 more bodies were found: Zinaida Kovasimova, Rustem Slobodin, Igor Dyatlov. They lay spaced apart, as if they collapsed one by one, trying to go back. Rustem had a fractured skull. No wound, no blood. Doctors said such an injury required extreme force, yet there were no signs of a fight, no struggle. For months, the remaining four were missing. Snow buried the mountains. Winter refused to release its grip. Finally, their bodies were discovered in a ravine. This is where the mystery deepened. Lyudmila Dubinina, Nikolai Grignol, Alexander Kolatov, Semyon Zolotarov. Their injuries had a crushed chests, broken ribs, internal bleeding. One man's skull was crushed. One woman's tongue was missing. Her eyes were gone. Another had no eyebrows. These injuries resembled a car crash, but there were no external wounds, no bruises consistent with impact, as if something crushed them without touching the skin. Even more disturbing was their clothing. Some wore garments taken from others. One wore 2 jackets, one belonging to a dead companion. Some clothing tested positive for radiation. No explanation was provided. The Soviet investigation was brief. Witnesses were discouraged from speaking. Files were sealed. The final conclusion stated, the cause of death was a compelling natural force which the hikers were unable to overcome. No clarification, no accountability. The case was closed. Over time, theories multiplied. An avalanche. But experts pointed to problems. The tent was intact. Footprints were visible weeks later. The slope angle was insufficient. A military weapons test. Parachute mines exploding in the air could cause internal injuries. But no burn marks were found. No craters. No official records. Infrasound. Low-frequency wind patterns could induce panic and hallucinations. But would it crush bones? Would it remove a tongue? Then there were sightings. Multiple witnesses reported glowing orange orbs in the sky that night. Military documents later confirmed unexplained aerial phenomena in the region during the same period. Coincidence? In 2020, Russian authorities reopened the case. They concluded it was an avalanche, but many experts rejected the explanation. Why cut the tent? Why leave dressed improperly? Why walk, not run? Why the radiation? Why the injuries? Why the missing organs? The Dyatlov Pass remains unresolved because it doesn't fit human logic. These hikers did everything right. They were calm, experienced, prepared. And yet something drove them into the cold. Something powerful enough to override survival instinct. Something that left no clear trace. The mountain still stands. Snow still falls. The wind still howls through the pass. And whatever happened that night remains buried beneath ice, time, and silence, waiting.